Yeah, Americans, I feel like, are usually kind of screwed with these draws, just given the time difference. So I woke up to a guy that I know messaging me at like, I don't even think it was 7 in the morning yet. It's Central Time in America, and I was like, oh Jesus, this is so early. This is crazy. I'm like barely waking up and rolling around in bed and looking at the reaction. But yeah, I mean, despite not getting either of the teams that I mentioned last week, this draw is still very fortunate compared to the other possibilities at this stage. I saw this post on the Borussia Dortmund subreddit the other day. For anyone else that's on there, I thought it was pretty funny. It was saying that both Dortmund and Atletico fans thinking they both got the worst team in the pool, and it's like the Spider-Man pointing meme of just everyone pointing at each other. Yeah, I mean, I think it can go either way, right? Like the draw could have been much worse, of course, but Terzic has an opportunity to really go far in this competition, or at least further, and do, I don't want to say the unthinkable, but it's almost the unthinkable of just getting to the semis at this point. Atletico, I personally have not been paying attention at all to the Spanish league this season. If anyone else has not, Atletico Madrid sit 5th in La Liga. They've won just 3 of their last 8 games. And if you go back further than that, I think they've only won 4 of their last 12. And although they only lost 1 home game in La Liga this season, they are struggling on the road. And I did some browsing in their subreddit, and they've also mentioned how their away form is pretty shocking, and they're very nervous to go to the Westfalen and get a result. They have 4 wins and 7 losses on the road in the league for Atletico this season. So I think there's definitely some hope of us getting at least a result on one of these 2 fixtures. And yeah, we're just can hope for the best. I mean, we saw a little bit of a preview for how Frankfurt defended, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but you could see that there's going to be some similarities of, Frankfurt falling back into like a back 5 at times and us trying to break that down and then them catching us in the counter. It's kind of the similar play style that Simeone has had at Atletico for a very long time, from what I've read. And just the past few days, that hasn't been like the sole philosophy that Simeone has had this season. But still, you can expect a lot of those similar principles in the game from Atletico to sit deep, catch us on the counter, and hopefully not win, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I like how I just openly say that I'm never prepared, and Carver's like digging into all the subreddits of everything to find all the information. That's why this works out great.
It was just a quick browse. That's all it was. I did a few little scrolls with the finger on one of their threads. That was it.
This is why it works, though, because I just let Carver do all the talking, and then I edit the audio at the end of it, and everything's great. No, so I mean, you touched on. I was going to talk about styles too, like Atletico. It's pretty, I think, well known, the style of play. I think there was a big discussion. I don't know if it was last year or the year before when they played Man City, and there was like, was it Pep Guardiola who was complaining about this style of play? Maybe it was another coach. But just like you're destroying the beautiful game by playing this sit back football. But on that, like, it's going to be interesting to see how we approach it, I guess, because in the Champions League we have taken a more counter-attacking approach. So,
right.
And if we play more attacking, which of course is probably what they want, like, are we going to be prepared for their counters? Because that's where we're sometimes susceptible as well. So it'll be interesting to see how we approach it. But yeah, I mean, given everyone who's left in this tournament, I would like to take them, not only because, I mean, they're a big club, obviously, like they're a huge club in Spain. They're not Real Madrid. It's not Barcelona. It's not Bayern Munich. They're not up in that echelon. They're still a massive club, and they perform well. They always usually have a good run in the Champions League. I'm not trying to belittle that at all, but just given their form, like you mentioned, their away form, they're sitting 5th in La Liga. So like, yeah, out of everyone who could have drawn, this is probably the best case scenario. And I completely understand if they feel that way too.
Right.
And I do want to just appreciate, I know the last couple seasons, something like we've hit on as fans, it's just like we want to see a good Champions League run, which we haven't seen in a long time. And like, we're in it. Like, I'm so appreciative that we're now in the quarterfinals. And I think we do have a good opportunity to push on. And on our side of the table or bracket, also, like, so we can move on and to face, who is it? Barcelona and PSG is the potential next opponent in the semifinals. And then the potential, so we get past that, move on to the finals. The opponents are then Arsenal, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, and Manchester City. I think I said before too, like I would be happy taking Barcelona because I feel like they have a slip up in them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it just feels like we're on the right side of the table.
Oh, totally.
Too.
Yeah.
So and again, I'm happy that we have made it this far. I'm happy that we've been performing well because that's what I've kind of been wanting to see. Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how we approach the matches. But yeah, definitely happy with the draw.
The last thing I'll say, if anyone else hasn't thought about it yet, just imagine the coaching styles of Terzic ball and Simeone ball. I mean, interesting is a word I would use, but I think that almost undermines the kind of football that we're going to see in 2 weeks time. Because yeah, those clashing ideas for styles of play are just, I don't have another word for it at the moment. Just interesting.
I guess I haven't paid enough attention to how they line up specifically, and I don't think they need to rely on him for this position. But how crazy would it be if we saw Axel Witsel center back for Atleti and then Emre Can center back for Dortmund? Yeah. It'd be a clash of the center back titans. I don't know.
Right. It's very likely too. I mean, Witsel has been playing, looks like a lot of minutes under Simeone, like you mentioned, at center back. So
has he? Okay, I wasn't sure if that was actually happening. Oh, cool.
At his age, and remember, which is crazy too, right? Because Simeone has such a high work rate style, especially when it comes to just tracking back. And everyone who paid attention to Witsel and just Dortmund as a whole in the last year and a half or so of Witzel's stint here at Dortmund. I mean, of course, he had the very long, harsh injury. But before that, too, you could see he was starting to lose his legs. So it's crazy that he picked up and he went to a team that demanded more of that kind of physicality and energy from him. And he's still at that top level and performing. So, yeah, it'll be a homecoming for him, too.
Yeah. Shout out Axel Witsel. I don't remember if it was his final game in the black and yellow, but I do remember he kind of we sent him off and he gave us a nice banger to leave us with. In one of the last matches of the season, he had a nice goal towards the end. It might have been in a Wolfsburg thrashing game, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure.
I can't remember either.
I'm probably
honestly
wrong. Given my track record, I'm probably wrong.